Hey team, today we're gonna have some fun here on Lopez on Leadership. I'm gonna look back on my 25-year career and give you my top 10 misused words in the Army. Have you ever been sitting in a briefing and somebody uses a word and you're like, I don't think that's a word, or I think that person used that word incorrectly? Well, I'm gonna give you the top 10 misused words. We're gonna have some fun with it. I got my retirement, my scraggly beard. We're gonna keep it light, keep it loose. Here we go. The number 10 mistake that people use in the Army when it comes to words is they use the word mute when they mean to say moot. Mute means to quiet something. Moot means having little or no relevance. But you'll often hear people say, oh, that whole matter is becoming increasingly mute. That's wrong. It should be, the matter is becoming increasingly moot. Don't make that mistake. The next thing I hear a lot of people say and make this mistake is when they replace specific with pacific. You've all heard the instructor get up in front of the class at an Army school and say, all right, class, I want each one of you to be very pacific in your briefings. How can you be pacific in your briefing? Should we all fly to Hawaii and stand in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? No, we want to be specific in our briefings. The number 8 misused word in the Army is when I hear people replace notional with notational. Notational is not a word, but I bet you've heard somebody use it like this. All right, team, we're going to go up against a notational enemy, and they're going to be very tough. It's not a notational enemy, it's a notional enemy, like a fictitious or a fake enemy. Notational sounds like you mixed rotational with notion, like the two married and then had a baby, and the baby was a fake word called notational. But yeah, don't do that one. It's notional. Okay, this one is a classic. It's when people replace the word regardless with the word irregardless. Irregardless is not a word, but sometimes in the Army we like to add unneeded letters to words to try and sound smart. Unfortunately, it has the opposite effect. So here's your example. Captain Jones, I need you to have your company in the motor pool at 0900 sharp. Sir, we have company PT that morning, but irregardless of that fact, we will be there. Drop the IR. It's regardless. Our number 6 mistake people make with words is when they mix up nutrition and attrition. Both of these are real words, but they are often used improperly when they have totally different meanings. Nutrition means to obtain food or health for growth. So, eat this granola bar, it's some good nutrition. Attrition means to gradually reduce something through pressure. But I've heard this many times. Hey man, I heard at that Army school, they've got a high nutrition rate. No, it's high attrition rate. So it sounds similar, but it's very different. Now I'm gonna eat my granola bar and have some good attrition. Number 5 is just a common mispronunciation. This is a pamphlet, not a pamphlet. I hear people say pamphlet all the time. I'm not sure what a pamphlet is. It sounds like maybe like a Pampers diaper, like a small diapers, like a pamphlet, or maybe it's like a Pokemon or something. But remember, pamphlet, not pamphlet. The next mistake I heard a lot in my 25-year career was when people replaced respective with perspective. They're both real words. They sound very similar, but they have different meanings. Here's how I've often heard it misused. Okay, I need every company, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, to clean their perspective areas. That's incorrect. It should be, I need every company, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, to clean their respective areas. Don't make that mistake. Joey from Friends made this next misused word very famous in one of the Friends episode. And that's whether to use supposedly or supposably. Oftentimes, this is a pronunciation problem. People switch the D for the B. These two words have different meanings, but you got to be very careful on when you use which word. So don't mix up supposably and supposedly. Thanks, Joey. I don't think there's anyone in the Army who hasn't heard someone get in front of a group and say, "All right, team, let me orientate you to my map." Orientate means to align yourself to the east. The more efficient and more correct way is to say, "Let me orient you to my map." So orientate isn't totally wrong, but you can be more clean, more precise with your words if you use the word orient instead of orientate. Okay, team, we're down to number one. The number one misused word in the Army is when people mix physical for the word fiscal. This is number one, and I don't think it's even close. I have heard multiple general officers misuse this word, and they're usually making the mistake when they're talking about the calendar year. So you've got the calendar, it goes from January to December, that's the calendar year, but our Army budgets run on a fiscal year from October to September. But majority of the people who talk about this fiscal year call it the physical year. Don't make that mistake, and don't be like all the generals out there that mix up physical and fiscal. All right, team, I hope you had fun with this one. It should give you something to do in your next training meeting or your next briefing. Open up your notebook, and when people use one of these misused words that I talk about, just make a little tick, and trust me, you'll hear these all the time. The last part is, you need to use these words correctly. Don't be the guy who makes the mistake of fiscal versus physical. Use your words correctly. You're going to sound smart and do well.